soul, soul to soul, soul to soul, soul to soul, soul to soul.
We can never forgive. Forgiveness is the attribute of the strong. Dear viewers, a very warm welcome to Soul Talk Show. We are very glad that every time we come up with experiences of people who have lived spirituality and have made fullest of it. Today, in this episode, we have with us such a unique personality who has completely changed themselves into a completely spiritual being. We have with us Sister Rona from Holland. She's into this spiritual knowledge from past 22 years. A very warm welcome to the show, Sister.
Thank you.
Sister, which country you're currently serving in?
I'm serving in the Dominican Republic since 8-9 years now, in the Caribbean.
Sister, tell us something about your profession.
My profession? I studied medicine, and I worked in refugee camps in Holland for a while as a physician, and I worked in psychiatry and in geriatrics. But even during my medical studies, I understood that the real suffering of human beings is not on a physical level, but on an internal level, on a mental level, on a psychological level, on an emotional level. And the medical world doesn't really have any answers to that. So although I was very inspired and very interested in the biological part of it, I felt the real help is not given by the medical profession. So that is why I looked for other options.
Okay, and which options you looked at?
Well, I tried almost everything to look for answers in life. And I looked in all the obvious areas where people are searching for answers. Professional satisfaction, sports, arts, all kind of things, traveling. But I understood the real answer has to come from something higher, something bigger, and I couldn't find it.
Sister, were you religious-minded?
I was born and grew up within the Christian tradition. And I liked the silence and the serenity of the church, but I could not find answers within the philosophy of Christianity. So at some stage, I left the practices of Christianity, and my parents were very flexible with that. But internally, there was always a feeling of connection with God. And I remember as a child, I used to sit on the stairs of our house and watch the sky and the stars. And in my mind, I would talk to God, and I would always feel a presence. And there was always a feeling of that whatever was really needed would always come.
Okay. And what perception about God you have in your mind?
Now?
No, you had before.
I did not believe in a bodily human form at all. So I did not really put any form to it. It was more like someone who is with you but is invisible. A presence of someone wise, of someone very loving, of someone who can guide your thoughts.
Okay, did you ever had this thought that, God gets angry?
Well, that was one of the reasons why I felt a bit unease in Christianity, because there was this idea of a punishing God, a jealous God, and that did not resonate with me. I could not believe that the Supreme can be like that.
Okay. So were you ever a God-fear kind of a person?
No.
Never.
I'm not a fearful person in general, but also not of God.
What profession you choose, sister?
Ever since a child, the feeling was that life should be useful, that life should be meaningful, and that if I'm going to live in this world, at least I should be useful. So of all the choices that were available to me, I felt medicine was the best. So that is what I studied to become a doctor.
Okay, and now you're a double doctor. So how does it feel being a physical doctor as well as spiritual doctor, and how do you feel about it?
Well, like I said, at this moment I'm not practicing anymore medicine.
Okay.
I stopped about 10 years ago. But of course the knowledge is there, and within your interactions with others, that still comes up. I feel it is good to have knowledge of how the body works. It is good to know the dynamics of physiology, anatomy, all those things. But the mind has always been, I think, and still is, the missing link in health. And how the mind functions, how emotions are generated, and how negative emotions are generated, and how that influences the body and our state of mind, influences also the way we interact. That is what has my interest more now.
Okay, and how can spirituality help a person in health problems?
I think the root cause of many of the problems, if not all the problems in this world, and also the health problems, is there is a basic sense of insecurity, there is fear, there is anxiety, which stems from not knowing, from ignorance, a level of ignorance that can be filled with spirituality, the spiritual knowledge, understanding the true identity of the inner being. That generates a sense of security. I am the spiritual being of light, an eternal being of light that belongs to a different dimension, that is like a guest in this world, a being that is immortal. And once I experience those higher feelings, then the lower tendencies and the lower feelings go. And that influences the body in a healthy way. I think all the negative emotions and negative feelings that come from insecurity, that come from stress, that come from not knowing, attachments, arrogance, ego, jealousy, those generate a physiological state that is unhealthy, which creates health problems. Whilst coming out of that state and experiencing higher feelings, feelings of a joy that doesn't have anything to do with the senses and sense pleasures, a feeling of love, of belonging eternally, that create a deeper sense of security and peace and contentment. And in that state, there are no need for unhealthy habits. And there are no need for unhealthy emotions. So even the body will go into a state, physiological state that is more healthy.
Sister, tell us something about your childhood.
My childhood. Well, I was born in Holland, but I grew up in Suriname, which is a former Dutch colony in South America. At the age of 5, my parents moved there, and I grew up in very privileged circumstances. My father was an engineer with an American company, mining company there, and we grew up in a very privileged environment. And so we had everything and access to everything that by the standards of the culture and the world was available to me. But I very early in life realized that those privileges were not for everyone. I used to have friends in school who did not have access to those same things. So I felt there is a lot of injustice in this world, and that motivated within me a feeling that I should do something about it, or at least my life should have such direction that I could help alleviate that. But I grew up a very happy child. Good family structure and friends and a secure environment, lot of sport, lot of books I like to read. So very privileged growing up.
Sister, like you just said that you had everything and you could afford everything. So did you ever give others inferiority complex? Were you very superiority?
Well, I said I grew up very privileged and in abundance, but that doesn't mean my parents spoiled us, not at all. We were not given things. They had the philosophy, everything that is needed will be provided, but we will not give in to your desires. So we were not spoiled. Not everything I ask for I get. Parents trained us how to use money. Parents trained us also that there were many children who don't have what I have. But of course, I think there were others looking at me and looking at the way we had many things that they felt she has and we don't have. I was very conscious of that. And I always felt that that is not right. That a world should be created with equal opportunities for everything. But at the same time, growing up, I was also, and this got reinforced when I came into the spiritual knowledge of the Brahma Kumaris, is that there is an outer life and there is an inner life. And what I saw in outer life, there are differences. There are rich people, there are mid-class society people, and there are lower-class society people. But inner life of people is same. Even the rich, they get depressed. Even the rich, they fight. Even the rich, they also get sick. So even though outer life, there are so many differences, inner life of people is basically the same.
Okay. And sister, what were your interests in your childhood?
I used to read a lot. Reading sports, all kind of sports.
Okay.
Art, and especially dance, ballet. And
you said you had everything in excess.
Writing. I like to write a lot.
Sister, you had everything in excess. So did you ever felt like giving it to your friends, and how did your family members reacted towards it?
Like I said, my parents had everything in excess. Didn't mean I could just take anything they gave to me. But I used to share things that I had with others. And I think my mother liked that. She felt that was good. Sometimes she used to get a bit mad at me, but she did not really mind, I think. But then they did not give us excess. They gave us what we need, but we never were deprived.
Okay. What was the thing which was not good in the world, and how did you think that you can change it?
I felt there is a lot of injustice in this world, a lot of social injustice, racism, discrimination, poverty, political imbalance, and I felt human dignity has been lost. There is no value for individuals, and that there is no value for the potential of people. And I'm summarizing my whole youth, certain feelings that were there. I did not feel I can change that, but I felt that at least I should use my life in such a way to alleviate that.
Okay. And were you inclined towards spirituality since your childhood?
I would not have called it like that, but I think yes.
Okay.
There is always a feeling that there is higher knowledge, that are deep, that there are deeper secrets, that there are things hidden for me, that there is that life is very superficial, but I never really could touch it.
Okay. And how and when did you came in contact with the Brahma Kumaris?
After Suriname, I went back to Holland to study, do medical school. And I went to medical school with a lot of expectations, with a lot of hope, which I quickly understood will not be fulfilled. That the medical world is not going to bring the answer to human suffering. So after 2 years or so, I started feeling there must be something else. So I started traveling. I even came to India on an exchange program. I was here for 6-7 months. And looking for answers, deeper answers. I went to Africa also. But I did not find any answers, so I just went back to study and finish my study. So at that time I was at a certain, I did not know what to do with my life really. And at that time I got a leaflet, and that leaflet was introducing a course, Racism and Positive Thinking, it says. So I said, that is interesting. And the positive thinking part was done by the sister of the center in Rotterdam.
Okay.
And when I saw her, I saw a person who has a clear mind
Okay.
and who was living what she was speaking. But most of all, she had eyes that I felt were clean. And the mind that has to be behind those eyes, that type of mind I want.
Okay.
So she invited the whole group actually who did the course to the center. It was not done in the center. And to do the course. And when we came to the center, I saw the pictures of the spiritual knowledge. I saw the picture of the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, Brahma Baba, and I saw him. Those are the same eyes. I said, I want eyes like that.
Okay.
So and immediately the knowledge made so much sense. It has become my life.
Sister, did you really got what you really wanted over here? Because I've heard that, doctors are next to God, and one God does not need another God.
Well, doctors may have that type of a feeling because we deal with human beings in very vulnerable positions, and in some instance there is even the question of life or death. But I don't feel that doctors who are really honest with themselves feel that they are God.
Okay.
And I definitely did not feel like that.
Okay. Were you happy with this existing world around you?
No. Although my personal life was a good life, it was very clear to me, even my friends growing up, there were friends who were not as privileged as myself. And I felt there is something very wrong with this world and with our perspective on life and with the way we are leading our life. People want to be happy, people want peace, people want to experience love, people want to be free. People are not experiencing that, and I was very aware of that.
Okay.
So I felt there is a need for this world to change.
What changes took place in your life after coming in contact with the Brahma Kumaris?
Once consciousness changes, once perspective changes, once your knowledge about life changes, then everything changes.
Okay.
Choices change, lifestyle changes, the way you interact with people changes. One very big thing that changes is I started to wake up every day very early in the morning to meditate and appreciate the power of generating internally in your own mind a state of peace, a state of purity, a state of eternity, a sense of security, of knowing that there is a physical dimension and there is a non-physical dimension. And that originally the inner being, the soul, has come from that non-physical dimension. And we are here just as a traveler, as a guest in this world, temporarily.
Okay.
And remembering that non-physical dimension, that world of light, that silence, that eternal belonging and the presence of the Supreme. In the early morning hours, it is like it recharges your battery. And so everyone started to say, oh, you're waking up so early, why? So that is one of the very obvious immediate changes. Life became very organized around my spiritual practices. And of course, family and friends noticed that.
And how did your family and friends reacted when you started following the principles of Brahma Kumaris?
Well, in the beginning, they didn't know. They just saw the changes in me. I became much more calm, soft-spoken. There came a clarity in the mind and a peace and a contentment that they observed, and they liked that. And especially my mother saw that there was much more joy and happiness within me. But of course, when they saw that I really made big changes, there was opposition, especially my father. He did not at all like vegetarian lifestyle, the choices within relationship and a celibate way of life. He was not happy with that, to the extent that he did not permit me to come home for more than a year.
Okay.
But later on, gently, he started opening up, and then he himself became a meditator.
Okay.
And
Nice.
vegetarian.
Okay. Sister, normal norms say that, people who are very depressed, who are very lonely, they go to God. But you were very happy, and you had everything, and you had all the material things as well. So what made you to go to God?
Like I said, for worldly standards, I was happy and had everything. But there was this feeling of social injustice and things being wrong in this world. So I needed answers. To why, to what is the purpose of life, what is the destiny of humanity, what to do with my own life. And so what attracted me most is the higher wisdom that is available through the Brahma Kumaris, that is available, and the wisdom of God.
Okay. And sister, since you come from a science background, so science and spirituality, they both go two different ways. Science wants proof, and spirituality, you can just experience things. So how did your logical mind accept this knowledge?
I don't think science excludes spirituality. I think it's just an approach to life and the physical dimension, which is valid. But spirituality deals with things that science doesn't deal with. And we need both. So I think both are valid and both are good. Even there are certain things in life that you need logic and that you need rationality for, and that you need to be able to explain. There are other things that are experienced, but an experience doesn't mean there is no proof. If you experience peace, you know that is true. It is just not reproducible in the way science methodology would like it to. So you can't prove it through science. But the fact that my thoughts create certain experiences, for me, is proof enough.
Okay.
And is also logic. I just cannot apply scientific methodology to it. But that doesn't make it less real.
Okay, so don't you think it's a blind faith?
Blind faith to me is that you don't understand it, but you just accept certain things. To me, that is the way I see it. And that it doesn't make sense to you necessarily, but you just follow it, or you just go by that. For me, spirituality is not that. I do understand there is logic in it, but like I said, I just cannot apply scientific methodology to it. That doesn't make it less logical for me.
Thank you so much, sister, for sharing your experiences with us. I hope you liked the episode. We'll meet you in the next episode. Till then, have a nice day. Goodbye.